Hello, hello, hello. This is Warren Redlich. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Sunday Live. We're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to talk about SpaceX. We're going to talk about Twitter. I don't have much boring company or Neuralink news. I'll start off with Neuralink, though, that Neuralink is having an event on November 30th. There's a chance I will be able to attend the Neuralink event. I think that's going to be in San Francisco area. The day after that, there's supposed to be a Tesla semi-delivery event. I'm going to try to go to that as well. I don't know what's going to happen. That's 2, 3 weeks away now, so I'm not too worried about it. 2.5 weeks away, so that's something that may happen. If you guys can hear me, okay, let me know. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'm just checking the chat real quick. So I'm going to dive in, and I know there's like a 20-second lag between when I talk and when you guys respond. So, um, just wanted to start off with this. I think the biggest news from week. There's a whole bunch of news like this where we're bombarded with Twitter news, which I think is not as important. I'm going to talk about Twitter a lot, but I actually think the most important news is this, that Elon said FSD version 11 rolled out at 11:11 p.m. Pacific time. So, and then, my friend Lincoln points out, but I thought Elon was doing nothing with Tesla because he moved all the programs over to Twitter. This is one of those things where there's a lie. Okay, there's a constant stream of lies going out there by the media, by people watching everything going on, trying to just trash Elon, trash Twitter, trash Tesla, whatever. And the fact is that things didn't stop at Tesla while all this was going on. FSD version 11 rolled out, and there's more coming. I think I have more about this next. But is it true that FSD beta is coming next? Version 11 is coming next week, and Elon said it rolled out. It's already out. So we're starting to see FSD version 11. There's been some screenshots of updates, release notes about what's coming with FSD version 11. The biggest thing about version 11 is it's called single stack. Single stack. Single stack means that the same code runs highway, regular city streets, parking lots, whatever. In the past, the code was FSD beta for city streets, and there was parking lot code and there was highway code. I think parking lots moved to FSD beta at some point, the FSD beta stack, and now highways are moving to the FSD beta stack. This is going to roll out slowly. Hi, Jessica Kirsch. Thank you for joining. Um, so that this is big news, and I'll talk about Russ Gerber in a second. I got a couple things I want to talk about, but this story, if you're watching the media, if you're watching people criticizing Elon, if you're watching all this stuff, Elon's distracted from Tesla. There's a Twitter overhang. And to be clear, I have a video that I'm publishing tomorrow about the so-called Twitter overhang, and there's a fatal flaw in the Twitter overhang that if you paid attention to the story being told by the prime storyteller, Gary Black, or the Twitter overhang, once the transaction was closed, the Twitter overhang was supposed to lift. And when the stock price didn't go up, the Twitter overhang story had to be, well, there's still a Twitter overhang. Instead of there's macro, there's other stuff, there's the whims of markets, Elon's selling, Elon's not selling. They just keep making up stuff to keep the Twitter overhang story going. There's no Twitter overhang. Twitter is not connected to Tesla other than Elon Musk happens to be the CEO of both companies. People at Tesla are working hard. They're pumping out batteries, they're producing, they're doing all kinds of great things, and they didn't stop because Elon bought Twitter. So the fact that some people think there's something going on there doesn't mean it's true. It's nonsense. The reality is that Tesla's doing great, and this is a really good sign. Now, I have FSD beta on 2 different cars. I was waiting for like 10.69.3.1. Version 10.69.3 came out and appeared to be making progress and appeared to have some good signs, but needed some work. And we were expecting a rollout of a next generation of 10.69.3, and it appears that that's been interrupted. And we're not going to see any more 10.69s. We're going to shift to version 11. Maybe we'll go to version 11.42. We'll see what happens there. 11.42, 11.69, 11.420. I don't know what's coming. We'll have some fun version numbers with that. The other bit about FSD version 11, Holmar's catalog, that's Omar, says, why are there only 2 pages of release notes? Elon says that given all that is in version 11, it will take a few weeks to expand the beta, then another few weeks to go wide release to US and Canada. So here we are, November 13th. I'm expecting that the version 11 is currently with employees. It'll go to Chuck Cook and Omar and some other first, early FSD beta, Lisa, a bunch of early FSD beta testers will get an early version of version 11. A week later, it'll go to more like Dirty Tesla's here. He'll probably get it. And Zach from Black Model 3, he'll probably get it early. And Kim Paquette will probably get it early. And then a week later, it'll expand to a larger audience. It'll go from, 1,000 people to 10,000 people to 100,000 people or something along those lines. So I'm sitting here November 13th. Landon, who I showed you in the previous tweet, and we got our FSD beta about the same time. We're probably going to be waiting 3-4 weeks to get version 11. Now, as far as I'm concerned, version 10.69.2.4 is already pretty good. I think it's great. So something better will be great. So yeah, Elon says the rollout will broaden roughly every week. We'll see. And then there's very funny thing here. Does it include actually smart summon? And Elon says it's going without saying that we all want ASS, actually smart summon ASAP. We all want AS. He didn't really answer the question whether actually smart summon is included with version 11. If for those who don't know, if you have a Tesla, there's this feature called summon where you can stand somewhere and you can have your car come up. And it doesn't work very well. It's like a parlor trick. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. One time it worked really well and saved us from getting really soaked in a heavy rainstorm. But most of the time it doesn't work particularly well. I try to show it off to people and it doesn't do anything, or it doesn't do what I want it to do. So actually smart summon would be nice. Hopefully that's coming. And version 11 will hopefully be better in a lot of different ways. So let me just look at the chat. Howard says the latest FUD is that Tesla cars are readily available in China and even only 4 to 6 weeks in the USA. Is this bad? Look, no. I don't know about readily available. I think right now you can go into a Tesla store, and this has been true for a while. You can go into a Tesla store, and they may have some limited inventory. They're not going to have the car you specifically want. But if you go to a Tesla store right today and say, what do you have available? They might have 1 or 2 cars available. They might even have a long-range Model 3 available, which you can't order on the website. But there's a very limited inventory. And by and large, if you want to get a car, it's going to take a month or 2 to get it, if not longer. And I would say in general, it's better to have the cars come quicker. There's some indication that if it takes a long time to get a car, then okay, you have more demand than you can supply, but it's actually better to have closer to an equilibrium of demand, supply and demand. You don't necessarily want 6 weeks of inventory sitting on your lots, but when Tesla reports inventory on hand, it's less than 10 days, and that's way better than all these other companies. Moon says, Warren, are you more or less bullish? I'm mostly go to Q&A later, so I'm just going to address this because I like these questions. Am I more or less bullish compared to a year ago? I think I'm equally bullish. I think I have a better understanding of why I'm bullish, but I did the battery revenue model more than a year ago, and nothing's changed. The battery revenue model was 3 terawatt hours times $500 a kilowatt hour, and we're still at 3 terawatt hours and $500 a kilowatt hour. The robotaxi model hasn't really changed. I think we're going to see that the next generation robotaxi is going to be lower cost. I think Tesla's margins in general are improving maybe faster than I thought, but there's no fundamental change. Bot changed from my models from a year ago. If the long-term prospects for Bot is good, the long-term prospects for Dojo are special. So there's some other things that make me more bullish. I see a lot of other things going on. There's a hint in Q3 about some other R&D that's going on at Tesla that we don't know about, that I'm probably going to make a video about soon. So I would say my numbers, my expectations for where Tesla's going in 5-10 years haven't really changed, but I'm more confident in them, if that helps. Okay, so let me move on. Oh, and sorry, great talk with Ross. People are mentioning this. I just did an interview with Ross Gerber. That's available on my channel. Please check it out. I have an interview coming tomorrow with Gary Black. If you are a Patreon, Locals, or YouTube channel member, a Patreon supporter, local supporter, or YouTube channel member at the exclusive content level or above, you already have access to my video about Gary Black's Twitter overhang story. Gary Black and Dan Ives and others telling this Twitter overhang story, and I basically shred it, and that'll be public tomorrow. So please pay, Gary's not going to like it. Gary doesn't like being criticized. He doesn't take criticism well. I'll probably get blocked again, but I take him apart. And I've invited him to have a conversation and he refuses to have a conversation. So the other thing I want to mention is I'm doing another video right after this one, a live stream on the Daily Lie. It is pinned to the top of the chat. There's a link in the video description below. I'm going to talk about Governor Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump in that video. This is the kind of topic I can't talk about on YouTube for fear of censorship. So I'm going to talk about that on the Daily Lie, which is a free speech platform. I don't think I'm going to say anything offensive that should be censored, but I don't trust the YouTube platform to not censor me. I have a long history of YouTube censoring me on this type of stuff. And I don't normally, and mostly my followers on YouTube, people who watch me on YouTube, aren't interested in my political views. If you are interested in my political views, that's free to watch. If you want to comment, if you want to participate in the chat, then you have to become a paying supporter. It's like $5 a month. And I really appreciate any support, locals, Patreon, YouTube channel member, any support is greatly appreciated. If you don't know this, a lot of YouTubers are seeing declining ad revenue. Twitter's seeing declining ad revenue. YouTube's seeing declining ad revenue for a variety of reasons. You hear it from Limiting Factor, Jordan from Limiting Factor. You hear it from Stephen Mark Ryan. If you support us on these platforms, these other platforms, whether it's YouTube channel member, whatever, it helps us ride out the bumps and the ad, ups and downs. When the ad revenues go up and down, it helps us. And a lot of us were expecting Christmas season would be a boost in ad revenue. It looks like revenue is going down for everybody. So if you have some money and you like what I have to say, or you like what Jordan has to say, or you like what Steven has to say, and you want to support us on Patreon, in my case, On Locals is my preferred platform, but Patreon's great. YouTube channel memberships are great. Support us on any of those platforms. We really appreciate it. Okay, so let's dive a little further. This is one of these things about why Twitter matters and why it matters for Tesla. Reuters publishes the story. Now, Reuters would generally be considered one of the gold standard in quality media, reliable news media. And Reuters says Tesla is considering exporting China-made electric cars to the United States, a reversal that would reflect the automaker's deepening cost advantage at its Shanghai plant and slower demand from Chinese consumers. And Elon responds, false. So in the good old days, the media would tell a story like this, and there wouldn't necessarily be a response. And Elon, people say Tesla needs a PR department. Here it is. Here's the Tesla PR department correcting a false story. Boom, done. Story's false. This didn't really make sense. You don't forget that Giga Texas is a newer design of factory than Giga Shanghai. Giga Texas over the long haul will probably be competitive or lower cost than Giga Shanghai in producing Model Ys and other vehicles. Fremont is making progress. The cost of shipping vehicles from China to the US, the cost of tariffs, it doesn't really make sense to ship Tesla cars from China to the US. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying there's no chance this would ever be worthwhile, but the reality is that Tesla has other markets they need to export vehicles to, and we have a lot of domestic production in the United States with Fremont and Texas growing, so it really doesn't make sense. And to somebody's comment before, is there a chance that Tesla will be lowering prices on Model Y? Sure. I mean, if I think there's going to be a bunch of weird things that happen with the Inflation Reduction Act, or as I call it, the Inflation Acceleration Act. There's this tax credit that if your vehicle if it's a sedan under $55,000, there's a $7,500 tax credit. If it's an SUV or truck under $80,000, there's a $7,500 tax credit. So I'm expecting to see Tesla pricing change right around January 1st to reflect the tax credit. So my gut hunch would be that Tesla will offer a Model 3. I'll probably be talking about this again in the future, but my gut hunch is Tesla will offer a Model 3 for $54,900. And it will include a variety of things that otherwise were options in the past, and it will probably have less than full long-range range. So the current long-range vehicle is more expensive, has an 82 kilowatt-hour pack, and goes 353 or 358 miles of range. My guess is we're going to see like a 330-mile range Model 3, and it's going to be, and you're going to be able to choose your color, right? Because right now, if you add options and it puts you over 55,000, then you don't get the credit. So they're probably going to have some sort of either low-priced add-ons, whatever, to get to the point where most people who buy it are paying $54,900 or under $55,000, so that everybody qualifies for the tax credit. FSD would be something you'd add on later, like you would choose not to buy FSD. And the same thing with Model Y. Maybe we see a Model Y Plaid. Maybe we see to get Model Y to $80,000 is a stretch. So I'm not sure how you do that. Could you see a Model X come in at $80,000? It doesn't look like they could do Model X and they could do Model X for $80,000. It doesn't look like they will. So S and X will not qualify for this credit. But we may see an increase in Model Y pricing to reflect the credit because it's smart for Tesla to capture some of that value. And then just really quick on that, we've talked about this many times, but the battery production happening in the United States, whether it's Panasonic or Tesla producing batteries here, Tesla's going to get additional tax credits for that. This is really good for Tesla, the company. But just, pointing out, number one, no, Tesla is not importing cars from China to the United States. They may be importing battery packs, or they may have imported battery packs in the past. I think with the tax IRA tax credit, Tesla's going to want to use all batteries from the United States, so we may see an end to shipping um, lithium iron phosphate battery packs from China to the US. That may change, and those batteries may go to Europe and may go to China because the tax credit has all these effects. And I think Tesla is waiting to get some sort of interpretation from the Department of the Treasury about how the tax law is going to be interpreted. All right, another interesting thing with Tesla, I don't know how many people caught this. There seems to be a renewed push for solar, including that they're hiring for solar installs. Um, and they're pushing people buying Tesla solar. There was a story in Electrek, which friends don't let friends read Electrek. I found that story very unreliable. If you look at the Electrek story, don't recommend reading it. But basically, Fred's the guy behind Electrek, gets like 6 unverified tips that Tesla is canceling solar install projects. And there's no reliability to that. It's like, it's not like Tesla took ordering solar off the website, and they're encouraging people to order solar. So it would seem like Fred is wrong. And, Fred just became unreliable, I would say, in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, Electrek became unreliable. So now one thing that's going on that I think is interesting, I have you know, if you follow my channel, I had an interview with Keena Mullins, who is a solar entrepreneur in West Virginia, and she's been tweeting to Elon, and I've talked to her about this, that Tesla, to some extent, relies on third-party installers. It seems like Tesla's trying to do more in-house. I think with the expansion of Powerwall, we're going to see growth in solar again. Now, they said in the Q3 call that they expected energy to grow 150 to 200%. As they are able to roll out, and there's been a Powerwall shortage, not just in general, but like third-party installers have been having like a delay in getting Powerwalls. So I heard that there may be a new Powerwall Plus that may have some additional features and may have higher output ratings. So one Powerwall would be able to, let's say, power an air conditioning unit better or something like that. You may be able to get more. I don't think it changes the battery capacity, but it may increase the power output, and it may make it a simpler device to install, and more efficient use, and a lot of different advantages to it. So look to see if we see any news about Powerwall Plus. Yeah, so I think there was some other story. Somebody else tweeted something about Tesla solar that I think was false. I'm seeing, this is a positive sign. Tesla is pushing solar, pushing Powerwall. Megapack factories rolling. There was a video not that long ago from the Megapack factory. Higgs KLB says, I checked Tesla solar after the Electrek story, and it's not available in my part of Oregon. I mean, the Electrek story said Florida, and it's available in my part of Florida. So I don't know. Yeah, I just, if Tesla there was supposedly mass cancellations, is like you got 6 random tips. Like maybe this is just more fun. How does Fred, verify that these are real? Wasn't clear that he did. Did Warren sell his home? No, the home is not sold yet. We had a showing today. I thought the showing went well today. We'll see. I talked to Eva. If you guys know Eva McMillan, Eva's the Model S Plaid owner in here, Cape Canaveral, friend of mine up in Cape Canaveral. Eva thinks that November is a slow month and things will pick up in December, so we'll see. So, all right. Just want to move on from that. So that's the rough Tesla news for the week. I mean, there's probably other things that have happened, but I just wanted to cover that really quick. Falcon 9, unfortunately, I missed the Falcon 9 launch. I'm down here in Boca Raton, Florida. I wasn't up in the Canaveral area for November 12th. I'm here trying to sell this house, heading back to Canaveral tonight. So I'll be back up there tonight. So another successful Falcon 9 launch. Great stuff and a great launch. This is a story that's kind of interesting about SpaceX. And, there's always a spin on it. So the story is that Gwynne Shotwell is apparently overseeing the Starship program at Starbase. Not clear how true that is, how reliable it is. The information reports this. And the spin is seemingly stepping in for Elon Musk as the CEO shifts his focus to Twitter. And I don't think this necessarily makes sense as the explanation for this. I, Starbase has been expanding, and at a certain point, Gwyn's been running SpaceX. If the major operations are happening at SpaceX, Elon was focused on rocket engines. I don't think Elon was running Starbase. They got another guy. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. There's another guy who was running Starbase operations. And they apparently sent Omid in. Omid had been working for Elon at Tesla before. Now he's working at SpaceX. I don't buy the story that Gwynn is there because Elon's running Twitter. I just don't buy it. Maybe Starbase is just maturing and needs needs somebody else to come in and help run operations. And Gwynn knows SpaceX better than just about anybody. And this is going to shift again because right now Starbase is hitting its stride and getting ready for that orbital launch. And this is getting that orbital launch to run right is a big deal. So having Gwynn over there to just watch over everything is a good idea because she's a strong professional manager. I'm a huge Gwynne Shotwell fan, just full disclosure. If you haven't seen her TED interview, check out her TED interview. She's absolutely brilliant. Go on YouTube and look for Gwynne Shotwell TED. You'll see it. Great conversation. But what's coming is Canaveral is going to expand. They're building, I think they've built the launch tower for Starship at Canaveral. They're building launch facilities. They're building manufacturing facilities at Canaveral. You're going to see Canaveral expand, and you're going to see people shift over to Canaveral at some point, probably sometime middle of 2023. So all that's coming. So okay. So, but it's good news. Look, Starbase is making progress. We think that we may have an orbital. Sam Patel, thank you, Jessica Kirsch. I actually briefly met Sam Patel. I think we were talking to Jessica out in front of Starbase, and he came out and he gave us these little Starbase stickers, which I didn't do anything with. So, anyway, this is, attributing this to Elon and Twitter doesn't necessarily make sense. It may be that, Hawthorne, where I think Shotwell was based, Hawthorne is Los Angeles. That's probably running like a charm. And, there's more need for quality management at Starbase now that Starbase has grown and they're doing more stuff. Attributing that to Elon going to Twitter doesn't necessarily make sense. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's an assumption that's probably unjustified. You don't know that, you're just winging it. So turning to Twitter now, we're gonna go into Twitter. Yeah, I don't think Gwynn is making engineering decisions on Raptor. Aren't Starbase and Starship part of SpaceX? Yeah, of course they are. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on and I led with this one, all stuff about Elon and Twitter. So the Times of India says, has Musk gone crazy since taking over Twitter? And I just think this is perfect. Elon says, nope, I was always nuts. And let's go back. I see people saying, well, it's a problem that Elon's behaving recklessly. Like, the guy got $180 million from PayPal. I'm making up the number. It might have been 190 million. I don't remember the exact number. And he invested that money in an electric car startup and a rocket company when it would he had no qualifications for doing either job, either company, right? He was a PayPal guy. He'd done some online mapping. He made a video game. And all of a sudden, he's starting up an electric car company and he's starting up a space company. And I would just say, if you haven't seen it, read the book Liftoff or listen to the audiobook Liftoff by Eric Berger. And, you'll see how reckless Elon was in starting up SpaceX, how reckless Elon was in starting up Tesla. The whole thing was everything he does is reckless, but he makes it work. And honestly, he's way more qualified to take over Twitter than he was to start a rocket company or electric vehicle company when he did those. He's way more qualified today to do what he's doing with Twitter than he was then. He's got a lot more money. There's so much better. So I think people are getting a little bit carried away. Only rockets. Come on, that's. So yeah, Gwynn is an aerospace engineer, but Gwynn focuses on selling products to customers and managing the company. I don't think she focuses on the engineering side of the business as much. But it is true, Jim, that she is an aerospace engineer. I didn't mean to take anything away from her. I'm a huge fan of hers. I tried to get my daughters to watch her TED Talk and get a feel for what a woman could do in engineering, but they don't listen to me. So they listen to me a little, but not enough. So this is just more fun stuff here. Omar, this is what I feel. This is why that's connected. This is connected to the previous one. Elon, this is Omar Kazi, Holmar's blog, Holmar's catalog. Elon, I'm going to build my own rocket. Everyone, I don't do that. Elon, I'm going to try to popularize electric cars. Are you an idiot? Don't do that. I'm going to buy Twitter and fix it. Now you've really lost it. Don't do that. And Elon points out it used to be internet guy will fail at rockets and cars, and now it's rocket cars guy will fail at internet. Literally the same media outlets. Now, I'm going to say the guy created PayPal, the guy created online maps. I think he's got a shot at figuring out Twitter. I'm just going to say maybe. And, he has some big ideas. We're going to cover some of it coming up. Elon will be fine. It's going to be a rough road. There's some risks involved because whatever Elon does, he usually takes big risks. So there's a lot of good stuff here. Yeah. Yes, Mitchell. Everybody misses that point. So as Twitter pursues the goal of elevating citizen journalism, media elite will try everything to stop that from happening. And Elon says mainstream media will still thrive, but increased competition from citizens will cause them to be more accurate as their oligopoly on information is disrupted. I don't agree with this. I love Elon. I want to believe this is true. But the reality is we've had increased competition from citizen journalism. Just look at Substack, look at me on the Locals platform. YouTubers, Twitters, there's all these accounts where people are challenging the mainstream view. And as far as I can tell, mainstream media has gotten more biased, not less. They have a dwindling audience, and they've got a dwindling audience that buys their lies. But I don't see them improving and becoming more accurate. I see them dying. I don't think they're going to thrive. I think they're going to die. You're going to see some mainstream media outlets suffer more and more and more. I don't think they're going to thrive. I think he's wrong about this. If they pivot and they become more honest and accurate, they might survive. But they just don't. That's not the pattern I'm seeing. And Shibatoshi Nakamoto, which I think is a play on Satoshi Nakamoto, says anyone with power and influence becomes hated. So as soon as someone becomes important and heard, citizen or mainstream, people will try to tear them down and replace them to fit their ideals. Rinse, repeat forever. And Elon found that persuasive. He replies to Shibatoshi a lot. And that's what we see. Somebody can become successful, they get attacked. It's unfortunate. That's the way things are. People are jealous. Maybe it just plays on, and it gets engagement on social media. So getting to features, changes that are going to happen to Twitter. Alex says, would you consider adding a special area for video uploads on Twitter for creators for longer clips and upload in 4K? Dedicated area for that creator and adding streaming quality options. This is something, this is what I do here on YouTube, right? And Elon says it's coming. I am looking forward to the potential for Twitter being a better platform than YouTube. YouTube's okay. I like YouTube. YouTube has treated me fairly well, but YouTube has a censorship problem and YouTube has a declining revenue problem. And I posted a short on both YouTube and Twitter at the same time. I think 2 different shorts, and they actually performed better on Twitter. So if I was an advertiser, and I don't know how they performed in terms of length, but they were short videos, so that shouldn't be an issue. So it'll be interesting to see whether advertisers recognize that Twitter might be a better platform for ads to reach video views than YouTube. And then this is the thing: people think that Elon's missing the point that this isn't an engineering problem; it's an advertising problem for Twitter. No, Elon is trying to make Twitter a better platform. This is all about technology. It's all about improving the platform. And once the platform is dramatically improved, it will be dramatically more attractive to advertisers. So that's, I think people really don't get this. And this is a big deal. Like, I'm just going to say this from my perspective. I mean, uploading in 4K, I don't know that's not a big deal for my channel. I mostly do 1080p, sometimes 720p. These are like levels of, video quality. There are people who are doing really high quality video content. That's not, I'm a talk channel, so I don't find that 4K is that important most of the time. If somebody disagrees and thinks I should do more 4K video, let me know. But I don't know. But I don't hear a lot of criticism of that on my channel. And my microphone stinks today. I will be back to my regular microphone soon. My regular, better microphone soon. But I can see where this is something that I would like if Twitter is able to make its platform. And one of the things, by the way, is if I tweet a link to a video on YouTube, it does not drive a lot of views on YouTube, but it would drive a lot of views on Twitter. I don't know why my Twitter links don't generate a lot of views on YouTube, but if they're native on Twitter, I think they'll generate a lot more views, and it may end up being a better platform than YouTube overall. I'm not leaving YouTube anytime soon, but I do anticipate, since my Twitter audience doesn't seem to follow my links to my YouTube channel, I think I can tweet videos without the same video on Twitter without hurting my YouTube video views. So I see myself doing both platforms. If you are a regular YouTuber and you're not on Twitter, you're not going to miss anything because I'm not going to put something on, unless it's, and now it may affect my locals platform if Twitter, I'm actually concerned that Twitter won't be as free speechy as locals. I'll probably stay on locals, and the videos I do on YouTube might just also appear on Twitter as well. And then I, at some point, have to figure out, well, if I'm making more money on Twitter than I'm making on YouTube, if I can drive more views to Twitter, then maybe I stop doing YouTube. But I don't see that happening for a year or longer. I think that's one of those things where you got to experiment. You got to see where it goes. And, will Twitter have the advertising? Can't hardly see your pores. So another thing, this is just a quick note from Elon. There was this flurry of fake accounts, and I think Kathy Griffin in particular created a fake Elon Musk account. And Elon said, and this is actually a pre-existing rule with Twitter, by the way, that accounts engaged in parody must include parody in their name, not just in the bio. To be more precise, accounts doing parody impersonations, basically tricking people, is not okay, right? And we're adding a parody subscript to clarify. So this is part of the engineering. It's a combination of content moderation. It's not fair to users. It's not fair to me if somebody creates a account that, and if you don't know this, you can just look at probably on this comment thread on this video, maybe while it's live, or check my Ross Gerber video. I get fake. People think this is some new problem with Twitter, that people are creating fake accounts for famous people. Stephen Mark Ryan gets this problem. I get this problem. Dave Lee gets this problem, that we post a video, and within an hour or two, there are replies appearing. Somebody will comment on our video, and they'll get a reply from an account that looks like it's mine, telling you to go to a WhatsApp thing, or telling you to go to a Telegram thing, or whatever. Or then there's this whole stream of investment advisors spam comments. There's a huge problem with spam comments and fake accounts on YouTube. And the same thing on Instagram. We get clones on Instagram. I just saw a new Stephen Mark Ryan, fake account on Instagram. So this stuff happens, and it happens on all platforms. And Twitter, Elon is probably going to do a better job of fixing this problem than YouTube. YouTube sucks at it, and Instagram is not doing much better. My guess is that Elon will fix this problem on Twitter and make Twitter a better platform. So the parody thing is just one little element of a lot of challenges that they're doing hard. What's Elon's approach? Let's do some hardcore engineering. Let's get this problem solved. Let's get that problem solved. Let's identify things we can do to make this platform better so people will like it better. And being that Elon is a heavy user of Twitter, he has a better sense. The thing is, like, how many people who were on Twitter's board who were running Twitter were heavy users of Twitter? Not really, right? Elon was. Jack Dorsey was. But another feature point, I just love this. Elon calls himself the Twitter complaint hotline operator online. Please mention your complaints below. And he had 107,000 replies. So Pranay, who's one of the guys that Elon replies to a lot, says, one suggestion: Twitter DMs are cool but lack some features. And Elon says the goal of Twitter DMs is to superset Signal. So Signal is an app that I recently started using. That's a tool for DMs. I don't know why we can't just use text messaging. I don't know why we have to use WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram or whatever. I have no idea why we're using all these things. But if Twitter DMs can be better than all of those, then that's great. And I really feel like I've got too many messaging platforms. Can we just get it down to one or two? Right. So if Twitter DMs are going to be a lot better, that would be great. I look forward to that. All right. So that's all the stuff I had. So I want to dive into really quick the locals platform. This is Jim, who I think is in the chat. Jim says, I love the kilowatt hour model. So this is the battery revenue model he's referring to, that Tesla's going to do 3 terawatt hours of batteries in 2030. Products containing 3 terawatt hours of batteries, and they're going to sell those products for what works out to $500 a kilowatt hour. That's $1.5 trillion in revenue a year, which is about a 20x from 2020 revenue, which is going to be around $80 billion. And then if you apply some simple numbers, you get like a $3,000 share price. And this is pessimistic because it assumes no robo-taxi, it assumes no AI training as a service, it assumes no bot. All the a huge potential for some other things that Tesla's doing. And $500 a kilowatt hour is arguably low. It's arguably high. I mean, a mega pack's around $500 a kilowatt hour. Almost everything else that Tesla sells is more than $500 a kilowatt hour and significantly more. So anyway, Jim says it's way more useful than skeptics seem to believe. Still, the biggest thing coming from Tesla is VPP, that's virtual power plants and selling energy, not just green energy, but displacement of peaker plants and that super sweet expensive peak rate. Yeah, so the way the electrical grid works is the vast majority of the time we're running on regular power plants, and there's moments where there's peak demand. This is typically the afternoon in the south in the summer when it gets really hot out. People are running their air conditioners more, and you have to get more electricity. And there's there's these power plants known as peaker plants that fill in the gaps when there's a peak, and they tend to be very expensive in dollars per kilowatt hour. So if mega packs can come in or virtual power plants can come in and reduce the need for peaker plants, then they get paid a lot of money to take them off. Now, my view is that once we get to widespread solar, widespread wind, and widespread mega packs and power walls, then the peak load problem goes away and the value that pricing scheme goes away. So it's good for society. I don't know that it necessarily generates a lot of profit in the long run. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jim. I'm just like, I'm not convinced that in the long run, once we shift, let's say we're in 2040, right? I don't know, maybe 2030, it's still true, but I think at some point we have enough solar and enough battery backup that peaker plants are gone, and then that that additional revenue from replacing peaker plants goes away because it's not an issue anymore. So Tesla has 30% of every industry storage and residential power walls, so they get paid to sell the power walls, and they can take a 30% cut to let the homeowner participate in VPP. This may happen. Virtual power plant, there are some virtual power plant projects going on. I don't know how important virtual power plant's going to be. I think for the vast majority of homes, the power walls supply the home with electricity, and there's not a lot of gain in supplying electricity to the grid most of the time. I don't think this is a huge number, but I might be wrong. And I think Matt Smith believes this is a bigger deal than I do. So, and Matt knows more about this stuff than I do. So, it may be that Jim knows more about this stuff than I do. So, we'll see where that goes. Okay, and then we have some Patreon questions. Um, AK says, and this is a little bit touchy, but I'll deal with it. He says, "Sorry if this is off topic, but your beefs with other Tesla SpaceX influencers make for compelling drama. So, what exactly went down with between you and Ellie?" I would say this one is less dramatic in the long term, and it's just plainly it's my weakness that I became obsessed with Ellie, and I felt it was unhealthy to continue a relationship with her because I couldn't separate out the friendship from the obsession. And I'm not saying she's completely blameless, but this is primarily on me that I fell for her. I fell too hard and I couldn't get over her and I couldn't stop thinking about her and I had to stop. So I have to not to control that obsession. And I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, I'll be in a steady relationship and that problem will go away and we can talk and be friends again. But I just can't do it. Um, it is what it, the so that I don't know that that's compelling drama. She's a good person. I don't think she's a bad person. No, there's no argument about some issue or whatever like that. It's just I'm weak and I got to deal with my weakness, and this is the way I can handle my weaknesses. I had to end that friendship because I couldn't separate it out. CLIV Clive says, "Oh no, she's not. I'm not. I wouldn't be critical of her like that. I don't think she's a ditz. I don't. That's who's that said, and I don't think that's fair. I wouldn't describe her that way at all. I think she's very professional. She's very good at what she does. I think she's a bright, shining star in the YouTube community, and I think she adds value in her own way. I don't think she's perfect, but I think she does a good job, and I think she draws attention. She's positive and upbeat, and I think that's good. But I just know, like for me, like at some point I recognized there was this moment after this Tesla shareholder meeting, I think. I was driving away from the shareholder meeting and the first driving home to Florida, and like the first 2 hours, I was thinking about her. And I just like, that's not healthy. And we don't have a relationship. So why am I thinking about her so much? So that was the moment where I was like, if I'm going to spend 2 hours thinking about her, it's just not healthy. And I had to end it. And it's working. Not thinking about her unless you ask me about her, but I'm not going to be obsessed because of this conversation. So Clive says, I don't think Musk's focus on Twitter will impact Tesla and SpaceX very much in the short term. How long do you think his focus being primarily on Twitter can last before it becomes an issue? Um, I don't think this is the problem at all. I don't know why people think this is a problem. I don't. Elon has always been distracted. He has a mind that works in a wild way, and he's all over the place. And if you were concerned about his focus on Twitter impacting Tesla and SpaceX, then why weren't you concerned about his focus on SpaceX impacting his focus on Tesla? For the last few years, he's spent, since the Model 3 ramp was resolved, right? The Model 3 ramp took a lot of his time, and he was really, really deep into the Model 3 ramp, sleeping on the factory floor. Since the Model 3 ramp was resolved, Elon has probably spent at least half his time at SpaceX. So that takes time away from Tesla, right? And Tesla and SpaceX have gotten to the point where they're both well-run companies with great management teams. And don't forget that there's a Tesla team. Elon often talks about the Tesla team. There's a great team at Tesla. Drew Baglino is spectacular. Zach Kirkhorn is spectacular. Martin Viecha in our investor relations is fantastic. Lars Moravi, I think is his name, is great. And you just watch these presentations that they do. Battery Day, AI Day, AI Day 2. You watch these presentations where these guys explain this is what we're doing. There's a great team at Tesla. And if you go to a Tesla event, I've been fortunate to go to Tesla events, and I get to talk to Tesla engineers. They get great people. They just get great people. Another guy I met who's like global public policy. I don't know if I want to name him, but I just keep talking. Whenever I talk to people at Tesla, like, the car designer von Holzhausen, Klaus von Holzhausen, whatever, Karl von Holzhausen. I don't know why I can't remember his first name. Fritz von Holzhausen. Fantastic guy. I met him at the Plaid event. There's just such great people at Tesla at every level, and SpaceX is the same way. I met a rocket engineer at Starbase and was talking, and these guys are so deep. They know what they're doing. Quinn Shotwell's brilliant. Both of those companies are very, very well run companies with great teams running things. And if Elon steps away for a week, they don't die. They don't stop working. They don't give up. So the idea that somehow Elon is, off somewhere doing something, he's putting 40 hours a week into Twitter. He's putting 40 hours a week into Tesla and 40 hours a week into SpaceX. And he'll keep that up for 6 weeks or whatever. And at some point, he'll slow down on something. So I think the idea that this is a problem is just misguided. I'm sorry. And people want to believe it, but he hasn't he demonstrated to you yet that he can handle this? Like how many times does he have to do it before you say, wait a minute, this guy can do it? Okay. John Sanabria, Dan Ives is butthurt because Elon is screwing up his numbers, and he in turn has to answer to his investors who don't follow Tesla. So Elon isn't screwing up anybody's numbers. Tesla is a juggernaut of epic proportion, made all in irrespective of share price. Long-term valuation models should just say hi. Twitter will have no impact. Exactly. Elon knows he's thrown his faithful a big fat bone in the form of discounted Tesla shares. So I don't agree with even that. Like Elon selling stock, if you understand if you understand finance theory, I don't think of the term for it. Look, the idea is that there's rational expectations hypothesis. I forget what the term is. If you think about the large Wall Street investors, there's large pools of money out there, and they're looking for where to invest their money. And if Elon selling stock in the short term increases supply of the stock and there's no corresponding increase in demand, then the stock price goes down a little bit. The savvy investor says, wait a minute, Tesla is now a bargain because the long-term fundamentals haven't changed and the stock price dropped. And so the sophisticated investors who understand Tesla would be buying more Tesla stock, and that would increase the demand and bring the price back up at least close to where it was before. So something else is going on. And what's going on, like, you'll see in my video tomorrow, people are manufacturing stories like the Twitter overhang. Okay, Gary Black and Dan Ives and whoever, and there's a whole bunch of people bought into this Twitter overhang theory, or Elon is selling stock theory. None of these things should matter. The value of a stock is determined by the value of the company, and the value of the company is determined by what its long-term prospects are. You know what, and you know, and the short-term prospects are good too. The company's growing fast. They're producing more vehicles. They're producing more energy products. They're making more profits. Like they're generating cash. Like where's the bad news in how the company's being run? They only grew 44% instead of 50%. Is that all you got? I mean, they're growing fast. Things are great. So, Be Nice says, when does long term become long term? That's a good question. I would just say for me, long term is, you know, I'm looking at 2026 and 2030. Those are the years that I tend to look at. I'm really primarily looking at 2030. If you're looking at next quarter, you're not long term. If you're looking at, so next quarter is Q4. If you're looking in the next 3-4 quarters, short term to medium term at best. Out to 2 years to me is still medium term, because you know, like I do my models. I don't do my, I mean, I do models for 2 years from now, but I primarily focus on where are they heading 5 to 10 years from now, and that's to me long term thinking. 10 years or longer, you know, at least 8 years, because you know my 2030 model is 8 years out, and you know that's the numbers that they give us. Is that we think we're going to be doing 3 terawatt hours of products in 2030. So, um, and John says, looking forward to the magic Elon can work with Twitter. Yeah, I think it's early days, and the people are freaking out that one of the comical things about what's going on with Twitter is people are like, oh, Elon destroyed Twitter in a week. Like, give it a minute. What are these expectations that like he's supposed to wave a magic wand and everything's supposed to work better in a week? That you know you identify a problem that existed before and then you blame it on Elon when the problem existed before Elon was there. There's just so much insanity. And like, look, they're coming in, they're going to work really hard to make the platform better, and it's going to make the product better, and it's going to make it a better experience for a lot of people. And I think Elon has really good ideas of what he wants to do, and he's diving into it. I'm sure he talked to a lot of people about it. And I think they thought through a lot of things, and you know, there's bumps in the road, and the advertising shortfall is affecting short-term cash flows, but they'll be fine. So, yeah, thank you, Mark Plot. So, 15 minutes from now, I'm gonna wrap up this stream. Maybe 13 minutes from now, I'm gonna wrap up the stream, or 10 minutes from now, and at 2 o'clock, sorry, in about 15 minutes, I'm gonna start a second live stream on the Daily Lie, talking about Governor DeSantis, Ron DeSantis of Florida, and Donald Trump. And that's the kind of thing I don't feel comfortable talking about on YouTube. Number one, my YouTube audience doesn't want to hear me talking about politics. Some of my YouTube audience doesn't want to hear me talking about politics. And it risks YouTube censorship. So it should be linked to the top of the chat, and it should be linked in the description below. And Mark Plot just tweeted a link to it as well. Not Warren Redlich /locals. It's locals.com/Warren Redlich. But it should be at the top of the chat. I think it's at the top of the chat. I think I pinned it. Did I not pin it? I'll read it again. Okay, so it's there, and now it's pinned. Okay, so so in about 10 minutes, I'm going to wrap this up, and we'll go there. I'm going to look in the chat now and see what questions y'all have. So, Steve said in 2017, I thought long-term was 10 years. I think I'll be right just in time. Yeah, I mean, you know, long-term is, you know, there's people who think long-term is 50 years. And, you know, it depends on your perspective. Like for me, I'm 56 years old. I'm theoretically going to start drawing from my IRA in 3 years, but really my goal is to not touch my IRA until, you know, 10 years. And yeah, so that's my attitude is like, when do you start drawing the money out? Right? If you are an investor, when are you going to need to draw that money for yourself? If you're, you know, if your short term is like, you know, like then one theory is like, I'm retired and I need money today. Well, then you should probably reconsider your investment strategy. If you need money from your investment accounts today or next week, then you probably should be looking at more stable. Like, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. You should talk to a wealth manager like Ross Gerber or Bradford Ferguson or somebody like that to figure out how to manage your wealth. For me, like I'm trying to live on what I earn and not live off my investments. And I expect, especially in the next few months, once this house sells, that's going to solve that problem, and I'm not going to have to worry about that. If you can look long term and say, you know, I'm not going to touch this money for 10 years, then you're thinking 10 years. If you know you're going to need the money in 3 years, then 3 years might be long term for you. I think there's some flexibility in that, but To me, like if you're thinking, well, what's the stock going to do tomorrow, or what's the stock going to do next week, or what's the stock going to do next quarter, that's always short-term thinking. And there's a trader philosophy about I'm trying to guess when the stock's going to go up and when the stock's going to go down. I'm going to try to buy on the dips and sell on the peaks. I just don't do that. I don't sell. I have not sold Tesla stock. I started buying in 2016. I haven't sold a share. There is one caveat. At one point, I sold some in one account and bought some in another account, equal amounts. So technically, I did sell some stock, but I like simultaneously bought in a different account just because like one was an IRA and one wasn't an IRA, and I forget. I don't even remember which way I did that. I think I sold in a non-IRA account and bought in an IRA account, but I don't even remember if that's the way I did it. So, oh, Derek Fry says, "What's the bull case if everything goes right? You're always being super conservative to keep the haters at bay." Okay, so the bull case, take the battery revenue model really simply as 3 terawatt hours of products in 2030 at $500 a kilowatt hour. A lot of Tesla products are $1,000 a kilowatt hour, $800 a kilowatt hour. So just taking that $3,000 a share and giving it an extra 25%, let's say, or something like that, or 33%, you could get to $4,000 a share on that alone. But the real bull case is robotaxi, right? If you end up, let's say robotaxi network goes live end of 2023 or sometime in 2024, and Tesla starts producing robotaxis for its own fleet. So you get to the medium term, and if it happens sooner, this is the numbers get bigger. But if it happens sooner, you see 10 million robotaxi fleet in 3 or 4 years. Tesla's own robotaxi fleet of 10 million vehicles in 3 or 4 years. Each robotaxi makes $50,000 a year in gross profit, and that's probably low. Honestly, $100,000 a year in gross profit wouldn't be outrageous. But let's call it $50,000 of gross profit. It's $500 billion a year in gross profit. $350 billion a year in net profit. 30 price earnings ratio gets you a $10 trillion market cap, and the share price is that 300? That's like $340 a share. But you could take that and say, well, wait a minute. The real bull case is let's go out to 2030 now. If Robotaxi Network goes live and Tesla really amps up production of robotaxis, and at some point, maybe a little bit beyond 2030, you've got 100 million robotaxis, and now the first scenario doesn't require major shifts in society. It's just a little bit of an expansion of the Uber market and the taxi market. You get to 100 million robotaxis and you drive the price of a ride down below 70 cents a mile. And what you end up having happen is a lot of people decide to stop owning cars, and the market grows dramatically because the prices come down. And your profit story might be $20,000 a vehicle times 100 million vehicles is $2 trillion in gross profit a year instead of $500 billion in gross profit. So you can see where you get to $40,000 market cap. And then, $20,000 a vehicle might be low. It might be $30,000 a vehicle or $40,000 a vehicle. You can't really say how that's going to play out. Because, if it's 60 cents a mile and the robo-taxi ends up costing 10 cents a mile, you do 100,000 miles, you could get that to $30,000 or $40,000 gross profit. And that could push you to $3 trillion in gross profit. Net profit, $2 trillion. You just, you end up with insane valuations at that point. And then you could say the price earnings ratio could be higher, right? If your price earnings ratio is 30, it's one thing. If interest rates go back down, if there's a market premium assigned to the biggest player, and you could see the price earnings ratio go to 60. So the price earnings ratio goes to 60 and you got, let's say, $1.5 trillion in net profit. Now you're at a $90 trillion market cap. And we've left out Dojo as a service. We've left out the privately owned vehicles that are operating the robotaxi fleet, generating more money. We've left out selling vehicles. We've left out Tesla Energy. And you throw all these things there, you could get to a $100 trillion market cap. Like that's the crazy bull scenario, right? And we've had some rough years, and there's one of my theories is that Elon is the player character in the simulation, and the people running the simulation decided to make the game harder because he was doing too well. But if you figure, we've had some rough years, maybe things go back to a little bit to normal in the next few years, and we stop having these, massive force majeure interruptions and everything going on. We don't have wars, and we don't have, public health lockdowns and all that stuff, and and supply chain problems resolve, a lot of great things could happen. So yeah, just really quick. Thank you, Naaman, for the channel member, for your comment. Um, I just did a video with Ross Gerber. Please check it out. Great conversation about the robotaxi model and the battery revenue model. We didn't talk about the bot model in that one. The bot model is another one that gets really bullish. You can imagine Tesla having a fleet of 100 million robotaxis generating $50,000 a year in gross profit on top of the robotaxi fleet. You got the bots in a fleet, and you got the robotaxis in a fleet, and you just use, and Tesla at some point is gonna have to divide itself up, right? You're gonna have the Tesla robotaxi company, you're gonna have the Tesla bot company, you're gonna have the Tesla energy company, you're gonna have Tesla China, you're gonna have Tesla Europe. Tesla's gonna have to divide itself up to avoid, governments trying to, split them up themselves. I see that coming in the future. So, all right, 5 minutes left. Let me just look at the questions here. Did I talk about the NSC? I didn't talk about the charger plug. So Tesla's announced that they are opening up Tesla superchargers to other electric vehicles. I don't think it's as simple as Tesla opening it up. I think that the other car companies have to maybe make an adapter available or something along those lines. I don't think it's an immediate change. And then the users are going to have to get the Tesla app. And you can imagine Ford might not want Ford drivers using a Tesla app. So it's unclear whether they're going to do that. Um, Elon runs the simulation. Okay, that's a possibility. Uh, Twitter has been Elon's mouthpiece for a long time, organizing around Elon as a game, presenting a vision and gaining people. Free speech secured. Yeah. I think I answered that question. All right, so I only have a few minutes left. I don't see any questions. Any theories about how Elon brings back the advertisers? Yes. Yes. The theory is that if Elon makes, like, usage is going up. If you are an advertiser and you were advertising on Twitter before and Elon drives usage up and you've got more users and you've got more activity and more people are engaged on the platform, and as an advertiser, you want to participate in that platform. It's really funny that the car companies stopped advertising on Twitter. Well, why were you advertising before? And there's this whole notion that the advertisers have to be careful and they have to be protected from advertising. There's these weird activists out there who are like, oh, if company's ad appears next to content we don't like, then we have to boycott the advertiser. Like, you can't run life like that, and the boycotts aren't real and they're not significant. And I don't work for one of these. There's this is what happens when MBAs run companies. Like, if you just put a little bit of thought into it, like, how big are these boycotts going to be really? And if all the companies got together and said, screw these activist groups, we're just going to advertise where we think we're going to get the best bang for our buck, and we're not going to care what the activist groups say, they can't boycott everybody. I mean, they can't. So don't worry about it. And, it would be nice if pro Tesla people would join together and boycott the advertisers who are boycotting Tesla or Twitter. But, we can't do that. So Elon will more than 10x Twitter. Yeah, Jim Whitehead talks about my interview. It's not an interview with Gary Black. I did a video critiquing Gary Black. I never interviewed Gary Black. He said there's now a dip to buy Tesla they didn't have for a long time. They try to time the market. Yeah, I just don't believe in market timing, because the critical point is, if you were thinking about buying the stock when it dips to 150 and it drops to 160 and you don't buy, and you miss out, and then the stock goes to 1,000. Think about the gains you missed out on. The stock's at 200. And you don't buy it because you were waiting for it to go 150, and you could have bought at 200, and then it goes to 1,000. You missed out on a 5x because you were waiting for a 6x. I just don't play those timing games. When I have money, I buy stock. I buy Tesla. That's it. Yes, Franz von Holzhausen. All right. So, do I think Elon must advertise his own products on Twitter? No. I think Elon effectively tweets about stuff, and it's better than advertising, so he doesn't need to. Have I seen DeSantis? God chose me. And yeah, we'll talk about that on the next video, I suppose. More eyeballs on Twitter than ever. Advertisers are dumb. I agree with that. Twitter shareholders got bought out at a very high price. Yeah, I was a Twitter shareholder, by the way. I made about 15% on my investment. I bought it when Elon started talking about it. I made about 15%, so I'm happy. So, okay. So I'm going to close this down now. The videos, I'm going to shift over to the Locals platform. Link is at the top of the chat. Link is in the video description below. It's warrenredlich.locals.com. I'm going to be live there for about a half hour. I'm going to pack up and go north and head back to Cape Canaveral and make some more videos for the rest of the week. And Gary Black video will be tomorrow morning. If you want to see it sooner, please support me on the Locals platform, on Patreon, or as a YouTube channel member at the exclusive content level or above to get early access to videos like the one with Gary Black. Um, so, thanks everybody for watching.